double-digit Ks.
We're busting ours to kick yours.
Fun to watch.
Minus 15.
Respect all, fear none.
Into the upper deck.
Intensity is not a perfume.
Oh, mercy.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to MASN All Access. Thanks for joining. I feel like it's been a long time since we've been in the studio doing a show. With me now, Byron Kerr, MASNsports.com beat writer for your Washington Nationals. Byron, what's going on? I miss you. I haven't had you up here in a while.
I know. It's been basketball season, getting through that, getting excited as basketball winds down. And, of course, spring training is already incredibly halfway through. So
amazing.
Exciting to get ready for the Nationals. And they start early, too. They start in early March, or late March, starting instead of April. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see what they can do.
Yeah, I can't believe we're halfway through with spring training. It was fun. I was down there, actually. Thanks for everyone who followed along. We had some good interviews. And Byron's been up here working away, getting ready for the season. And Byron, it's kind of been a weird off-season, even though it's spring training, because the market is still flooded with players, including some like Jake Arrieta, which we'll get to in just a little bit. But let's get into this starting rotation, because it's great again.
Right.
I feel like time after time, and people keep talking, maybe Max Scherzer isn't going to be as great as he was last year and the year before, but I feel like he just keeps getting better with age somehow. He's the only pitcher that somehow keeps getting better and working harder as he gets older.
Yeah, that's the great point, Sarah. Even if he's not as good as he was last year, he's still going to be very, very good. And you have two guys that were, top four in Cy Young, and Steven Strasburg and Max Scherzer last year. So it's incredible so many teams wish they had the issues that the Nats have, because their starting rotation could be the best in the National League again this year. Yeah. And we've seen recently what Tanner Roark's been able to do, kind of changing the way that he comes to the plate. And people don't talk about Gio Gonzalez. We're going to mention the top 100 later on in the show from Sports Illustrated. I mean, a lot of people maybe sleep on how good a pitcher he is. He's getting, top 100 consideration nationally as well.
And he'll be a free agent next year, and
right.
He's going to have some years left in his career, which is crazy, and they got him at a good price, but he's been a really successful left-hander for the Nationals.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just such a great starting rotation, even with just those four guys, and who knows what it's going to be on opening day, but you got to be pretty excited that this team has so many good starting pitchers to go with to begin the season. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think when you have Max Scherzer and then Steven Strasburg as your number 1 and 2, it can't get much better than that. And you mentioned Gio Gonzalez, who's going to be a free agent, but still really durable for how long he's been in the big leagues. And then Tanner Roark, who pitched the other day, and he's looking pretty good out there.
Yeah, listening to what Pete Kurzel had written about on MASNsports.com about what Tanner has been able to do, and we saw what Strasburg did last year in changing the way that he was going from in the rotation from the stretch and things like that, and Tanner kind of simplified his approach to the plate as well. So it'll be interesting to see if that pays dividends later on in the season. I still feel bad about Tanner not getting into Game 5 last year. It was expected for really almost the last 3 days of that season that he was going to start that game, and then he didn't even pitch in the game at all. So I remember that moment, seeing him at his locker and how disappointed he was in not being able to contribute, because that's the last thing you want. If you worked your butt off for 200 games to get to that moment, and you want to pitch in the playoffs. So I think he's going to really be focused, and just like Strasburg was this year, on making sure that they have enough in the tank in October. This has nothing to do with him not starting in Game 5 at all, but I just think from a veteran mentality point, these guys know how long the season is, and they don't want to kill themselves in April and May and not be strong when it comes to September and October.
Yeah, and they will start to throw more pitches as spring goes on. Actually, AJ Cole is throwing today, and that game's on MASN. Nationals playing the Astros, of course, at the Fit Team Park there that they share. He'll make his second spring start today at 1, coming up actually in just a few minutes. Now, he's out of options, so it's either he's probably going to make the team either as that 5th starter if they don't go and get someone else, competing with Edwin Jackson, of course, or he can be that long arm out of the bullpen. It doesn't really seem like there's bad options for AJ Cole right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big year for him to kind of solidify his major league status.
Yeah.
They had big hopes for him when he was a prospect fresh up, and then they traded him to the Oakland A's. They got him back from the Oakland A's, and his first start in Atlanta didn't go well at all. The staff was frustrated with how that worked out. But then at the end of last year, he started to build up again. Had a great start in Philadelphia. I thought did a really nice job. And I asked him during the Winterfest about the impact of Matt Wieters. That's my favorite story is how has Matt Wieters helped all
AJ
these
Cole.
AJ
Young
Cole
guys?
and Gio Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Well, everybody on the starting rotation. And AJ said that the thing he loved about Matt was that he asked him to throw pitches that weren't going well early on. Like, don't give up on a pitch early on in the game just because somebody gets a base hit or a home run or something like that. And so AJ was like, okay, cool. He believes in all my pitches. And I think that's important because AJ, to me, still feels like a young guy and still trying to prove himself. Well, we don't know what's going to happen, whether Jake Arrieta or Edwin Jackson or somebody else comes along for that 5th spot. But, yeah, this is an important start for AJ today to see what he can do against the world champions. Because he wants to prove that he deserves to be in the big leagues, and he wants to be a guy that gets the ball every 5th day and be reliable and not be pushed back to AAA. Because if it doesn't work out this year, and you said his free agency's coming up, he may not be around here next year. So this is a huge moment for AJ Cole.
Absolutely. He went 2-3 with a 2.86 ERA in his final 5 starts last season in August and September. Yeah, not bad at all. And also out of options. That can go either way, right? Be a really big help for him, or unfortunately it could kind of screw him a little bit. So it's an important day for him against the Astros. Although we talk about it all the time, the 5th starter spot doesn't really matter for a team like the Washington Nationals, only because their top 4 are so strong, arguably the best in the big leagues. You know, their 1, 2, and 3 are so great, and Tanner is working on his stuff, and he's a solid pitcher. So all they really need is someone to just get through, and then it really won't matter until the postseason when they use their 1 through 3, maybe their 4. But we've talked about Jake Arrieta enough, so let's get into this because I'm so shocked this guy is still available. It is March 6th. And he's still on the market.
Well, you mentioned it from the beginning about the free agent market and how it's all been a little bit different this year. There's a lot of guys, they're having spring training just for those free agents that don't have a team yet, just so they can stay in baseball shape. So it's crazy to see these guys, and he leads the list. I was on Mid-Atlantic Sports Report a couple of weeks ago, and this is our biggest topic was, why is Jake Arrieta a free agent? And that was 2 weeks ago.
He's still a free agent.
This is crazy to see a picture of that status. So what I think is that he's not going to be able to get a long-term contract, and maybe with a team like the Washington Nationals, he would take a hometown deal, if you will, with the Nationals and maybe make it a 2-year deal or a 3-year deal or something like that, something shorter, a 1-year deal plus a player option, something like that to get him with the Nationals because he knows they have a great chance to be able to win the World Series. And he has a great relationship with Davey Martinez. Maybe not a great relationship with Miguel Montero, but
I think
he
they're
loves.
okay now.
They're okay now. Okay,
Yeah,
so I think that is a good hook for this team. That you're going to get a team that's going to be in the top 3, has a great chance at the World Series. But are you willing to take less money and less? Because when you get to 30, 31, 32, at that age group...
He's on the wrong side of 30.
Yeah,
That's what he is.
when you get to that in Major League Baseball, then you want a long-term deal to kind of be able to ride off into the sunset. So it's a big moment for him in the next couple weeks.
It's just weird. He's a world champion. He's a Cy Young winner. And now he's a free agent on March 6th. This is really, really weird for him.
It's strange.
I actually read a really interesting piece on Forbes.com earlier today talking about why the Nationals and Phillies are still in the running and which would make more sense. And of course, the Nationals, in terms of player-wise, it makes complete sense, right? But for the Nationals, 1, they love Scott Boras clients, and Jake Arrieta is that. But 2, he's not going to come at a cheap price. And I was looking actually at their payroll, which is right now, I think, settled to be at $202. And they're trying to stay under the $197 million luxury tax threshold. And they want to have, obviously, money for the free agent class coming up with their very own Bryce Harper. So it gave a hypothetical scenario where if Jake Arrieta was going to make $20 million this season if he signed with the Nats, their payroll would be around $222. And that means they'd have to pay the 30% tax rate, which is like $6 million. And then it was a bunch more, meaning they'd have to pay $8 million in just taxes for this. So it's not really about just, of course, him as a 5th starter, but the money, losing draft picks. Like, there's so many things that go into Jake Arrieta. So time will tell, but actually Phillies might be going after him more now, just looking at these numbers.
Because they have the money to spend. And you made a great point about that 5th starter. Edwin Jackson, is on the back half of his career, and you really just need a guy that can keep your team in the game.
Yes.
He doesn't have to be Strasburg, he doesn't have to be Scherzer, doesn't have to be Gio, doesn't have to be Tanner. If you can win 4 out of those 10 games, go 5-5, something like that, and your other 4 starters are winning 2 out of 3 games, you're right. That 5th starter is just taking up that day to build. And could we see somebody down the road like A.J. Cole be that guy, or Will Crow, or one of the hotshot prospects, get a chance later on in the season? Could that be a possibility, or would they go with an Edwin Jackson just because he has a great relationship with the team? He's pitched well here.
Or they could put, if they did get a guy like Jake Arrieta, he'd go in the 3rd spot even. So it just depends what they want to do. It's just so
money. I think you're right is a big part of it.
Money, loss of draft picks, negative impacts on the international signing bonus. So many things. So I guess we'll see what happens with Jake Arrieta.
Be nice to have him, though. Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. I feel like if they truly believe 2018 is their year, which of course I think a lot of them do believe that, yeah, it could happen. Which brings me into the hump they need to get over. From manager Davey Martinez, he had those camels coming. That was really strange and cool. At the same time, I wanted to get on that and go around the park, but I
trying to just break the ice, I guess, and show his personality and get the guys not to get hyped up and tight this early in the season, thinking about all the divisional playoff games that they have, a series that they haven't been able to win. Don't worry about it. It's a brand new year. You still got a very, very good team, and what if they win it all? Could they bring the Camels to DC and have them in the parade or something like that?
Do you think Davey Martinez is a lot like Joe Maddon? Because it's looking like that, some quirky habits he has.
Yeah, I mean, I remember what he said at the Winterfest about having the guys be able to play their own music. As you heard when you were down there, they got to make their own selections there. There's the circle of trust, there's the team meetings before the games, and he's very much into the bonding of that. He's learned a lot of that from Joe Maddon over the years, and he's a former player himself. A lot of managers are, but I just think he's so close to the game from just playing that he's kind of more in tune to what these players are looking for. And Sunday is going to be the family day, Sunday the fun day, so that the family can be a part of the team. He wants to get work done early on in the day instead of having these guys here for 12, 15 hours and getting tired out in spring training. So yeah, you like the vibe, you like the attitude for him, a relaxed atmosphere. I always think that the teams that have an open door policy with their manager, if there's something going on that they can talk to him, you do not want issues to fester through the season. Yeah. If you cannot talk to the manager on a day-to-day basis, if you don't feel comfortable going into his office and sitting down and say, hey, I'm having trouble with something you're doing, or I'm having trouble with a teammate, then by August, the dog days of August, by September, you don't want animosity building, because so important for all 25 guys to be together.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this guy is a player's manager. Learn from Joe Maddon with these habits. Let's actually take a look and hear what he said about bringing the Camels into spring training.
Bring the hump to us. Everybody, the proverbial hump question that we've all tried to answer. I want these guys out there. I want it out there. I want them to. For me, as I thought about it, the hump is every day, and I want them to embrace it, not fear it, and have fun with it. I mean, we all know why we're here, but it starts with today. The message has always been about being in the moment, stand in the here and now. So, I want them. It's I told them today. It's all about adversity and how we deal with it as a whole. And this is part of it, so let's have fun with it and move on. And they loved it.
We would actually love to hear what you guys thought about the Camels coming into the park, because I thought it was awesome. Looking back at that, that's just ridiculous. I loved it. Definitely.
Wednesday's tomorrow. Hump day.
Yeah, hump
Wednesday.
Day. They bring it back tomorrow. Cool. It was cool. Awesome. I like what he talks about, getting over the hump, which, quite frankly, they need to do. Someone needs to bring a championship home to DC. Get over that hump first of the NLDS.
We've had this discussion before, Sarah. Just win one playoff series, okay?
Exactly.
And then everything else is gravy after that. Then they can relax and hey, we can beat anybody, and they'll win the whole thing.
Yeah.
I guarantee it. So just win that first postseason series with the players that you have, and then everything will fall into place.
Such a player's manager. I'm excited to see what he does with this very talented roster. Actually, when I was down at spring training, I asked him, what's it kind of like dealing with all these players, such a talented roster? And all he said was, I don't sleep at night because he's so stressed, because there's so many cool lineups, and that's the best way possible. I mean, he comes in as a first-time manager and gets one of the best rosters in Major League Baseball. That's something special. Moving on, Seth Romero, sent home from spring training. We don't know what he was doing. We could take guesses back and forth, but this isn't his first time getting in trouble.
Right. I mean, that's the thing I think about at the University of Houston is that he was actually kicked off the team at Houston because of some situations that happened and unfolded there, but an extremely talented left-hander, as you can see right there, him throwing. So this is a big setback that it was a violation of club policy, team rules, and that's not good news for Seth Romero. That's not good news for the Nationals. I think about the scouts who went out on a limb for this guy and said, hey, I'll put my reputation on this guy. Draft him. He's a hidden gem, and he is a hidden
25th
gem.
25th overall.
Yeah, he could be a great player, but he has got to get whatever situation is on. He's got to get it together. The Nationals have had a track record of giving guys chances when things don't go around well, and my great example of that is Steven Souza Jr. back when he was sent home from the Potomac Nationals back, I think it was 2010 or 2011, and he almost quit baseball because of situations that were happening with them. The Nats brought him back and actually demoted him to low A, Hagerstown. He built himself back up, got his act together, worked really, really hard, and became this incredible Major League Baseball player. Made that great catch in the no-hitter for the Nationals, got traded to Tampa Bay. Now he's with Arizona. So the Nats will give this guy a second chance, but he's got to get his house in order. He's got to mature as a young man, and he's got to make sure that baseball is the foremost, most important thing in his life. And I could speculate, we could speculate what the club policy, what the violation was, but he has just got to focus on baseball and make sure that he understands this is a profession. He's not a college kid anymore. He can't joke around. He can't mess around. He's got to be serious. So hopefully Seth Romero can get his act together.
Yeah, just 21 years old, so you could see why he's a little bit immature, but he has a habit of breaking these rules, which quite frankly is in the big leagues now. While he was at camp, he needs to kind of get out of this.
Yep,
quite frankly.
it's a short window when you have a great arm and you're a great player. So you got to take advantage of it. Hopefully he can get his house in order.
Yeah, exactly. That team's not messing around. Now let's move into a topic which I'm sure everyone watching wants to hear about: Bryce Harper. Because why not? He's heading into kind of his walk year right now, and he's doing great in spring training. First and foremost, he's healthy and strong, which is all that really matters right now, and he's playing really well. He had that ingrown toenail injury, but he's fine. Trying to steal bases out there.
Oh man, it's exciting. It's fun to watch him. And I think my first question when we get to the locker room, clubhouse, at the exhibition game against the Twins, I'm going to ask him about free agency. Do you think that's a good idea? My first question will be:
are you going to stay away from that?
Stay away from that one?
Yes.
Okay.
For those of you
guys
watching who didn't see the press conference, so we were down at spring training. The first thing he said was, "Do not talk about free agency," and I will walk out of the interview if anyone brings it up this year. He wants to.
How many friends do you think I would make if that was my first question?
You might be kicked out of the clubhouse, Byron. You might be kicked out of the clubhouse.
That might be the end of it for me there.
I wouldn't.
No, it should be an exciting year for him, and what he was a 2015 MVP. He's had injuries the last couple of years, but he's still 24, 25 years old. Incredible player, and there's no Jason Worth around anymore, so he's going to have to kind of step up as one of the leaders on this team as well. And he's shown that he can do that. So I think that's going to be an important part of his maturation this year. And people looking around the clubhouse realize how hard he works. I think he's got all of his teammates on his side. And this is the walk year, unfortunately. But as we've seen written so many times, we have not seen the best of Bryce Harper yet. I think he can be an incredible baseball player. He already is one, but I can think he can be power-wise, speed-wise, as you talked about, defense, everything. Put it all together, he could be one of the top 10, as we expected from the beginning. So exciting year. Hopefully he does sign with the Nationals. But if it doesn't happen, get the most out of 2018 here and get him the World Series title. Yeah,
Mike Rizzo even said that one thing Bryce Harper will be able to do is feed off this energy heading into free agency, which some players, it could stress them out. But personality-wise, he should be able to handle it and make the most out of it. He said
stay healthy too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He said what's most important right now is staying healthy and helping this team right now win. Period. That's it. He doesn't want to look ahead, and I'm sure his agent Scott Boras, who's one of the best out there, is telling him how to act and what to say in terms of free agency. But listen, it matters what he does this year. It's going to matter big time when he gets close to probably $400 million. And if the Nationals sign him, I mean, that'd be truly incredible. But either way, he's going to be a successful baseball player and already is. We'd love to hear your comments on Bryce Harper and if you think the Nationals should re-sign him, only because that's a lot of money. I've actually heard different opinions of re-signing him or not to go to one player. So I guess we'll see. A lot of good free agents next year.
That's why they have not traded Victor Robles. That's why Mike Rizzo's being careful, kind of holding his insurance in case Harper does not re-sign. But yeah, that's a lot of money out there, and there's a lot of teams that can open up that slot for him. So, my question is, does it make a difference if the Nationals win the World Series or win a playoff series?
I think so.
As to whether or not Bryce Harper will come back.
I think if he just gets a taste of what getting past this NLDS and like possibly going to the World Series or going to the World Series will directly affect it, right? I think he wants to win. The money's going to come regardless wherever he goes. He just wants to win, and why wouldn't he? When you're one of the best of all time in your generation for baseball, you want to make it to the World Series, plain and simple.
And would his legacy then of being the Cal Ripken of Washington, D.C., would that be something that would be important to him? Of just staying with one team for his whole career? Yeah,
because he has mentioned before, a lot of players don't do that anymore.
Right.
It's not as common. It's a good question. We're going to have to ask him towards the end of the season.
I'll be careful.
I wouldn't ask him just
the
yet,
way you
Byron.
word that, yes, exactly. Wouldn't it be fun if, like, a player with the number 34, like, played his whole career in
what do you think
one
about
city?
that? Sorry.
Guy from Las Vegas.
And you'll be escorted out of the clubhouse. So have fun with that, Byron. Let me know how it goes. We'll bring you on to talk about it after you take one for
my
the
final
team.
all-access appearance. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
I'm not going to be able to bring you on the show anymore if you do that. So maybe not a good idea.
Great, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, but let's see how he does this year. Hopefully he can lead this team to a lot of victories. Backup catcher role, that's still up in the air. They have Pedro Severino and, of course, Montero, and you mentioned that little situation with Jake Arrieta. But he's getting along, and listen, Davey Martinez worked with him quite a bit and has seen him, obviously, with the Cubs and before that, so they like him. He's a veteran. What is he, 34? Been in the big leagues for, I think, 12 years.
Yeah, he definitely knows what he's doing.
He knows what he's doing.
He knows how to work with pitchers. Obviously his throws to second base got him in trouble, and his comments about Arrieta with the Cubs. But he is a veteran that has a lot to go in for him. It's important to see how Matt Wieters does this year, because if he does what he did last year offensively and things start to break down, that could cause a real rift in that catching position, because is Severino ready to be the number one? Pedro was, and again, one of those top prospects that the Nationals have worked with for so many years to get him to this point and where he is right now. So it's a big year for Pedro as well. He's certainly an athletic specimen. He's got all the tools that a baseball catcher needs. That was the big thing with him in AA when I covered him there, was that he went 7 or 8 players in a row trying to steal second at the beginning of the year. He got them all. So he's got a real good arm to second base. And it'll be fun to see how that plays out. Davey Martinez, Mike Rizzo, and their staff have a decision to make. Do they go with the veteran? Do they go with the top catching prospect they have left? So it'll be interesting next couple of weeks here before we get to opening day to see who wins that job. Yeah,
Montero, career 257 hitter. And then, of course, Severino, he's been called up from the minors in 2016 and 2017. Played 16 games in 2016 and 17 last season. He's a career 246 hitter. Just 24 years old and has options. Still so young compared to, obviously, the veterans like Wieters and Montero. Now, moving on to Murphy and knee and injury updates, because I've seen a lot of comments actually come in about that. And Byron, I'll start with this. Murphy doesn't really seem ready for opening day at this point.
That's okay. I mean, that was a microfracture, is a very, very serious injury and surgery to get back from. And as we've said, it's a very, very long season. So Wilmer Defoe, Howie Kendrick can do a good job of manning that spot in the infield, and they'll be fine. And actually, I think it'll be something that will benefit Daniel Murphy and the Nationals. As I said, I want them to be fresh by the end of the year. And, he, of course, wants to play as many of the 162 as possible, but from the Nats standpoint, they're so talented on the roster, they don't need him to play 162 games. And they have Wilmer Defoe, they have Howie Kendrick, they have others that they can plug into that spot that can buy him some time to make sure that he's 100%. He had the quote last week, I think Mark Zuckerman had written about it on MASNsports.com, that when I come off the disabled list, I want to make sure that's the last time I come off the disabled list, that I don't bounce around.
And that's a good way to look at it. They have enough depth and great guys on their bench that they could fill that role a little bit. Yeah, Howie Kendrick, 34 years old, but man, he's still good. Last year, 315. I think 315.
Well, yeah, it's nice to see that he wants to come back too. So he believes in the Nats, even with a different manager. And he's so valuable because he can play the outfield, he can play the infield, and he had a bunch of clutch hits in big time moments. So yeah, it'll be fun to see what he can do.
Adam Eaton coming back from that ACL tear, and that's not easy to recover from, but I saw him. He looks good. His kid was looking so cute out there. I don't know if you guys caught that video we aired a few weeks ago down at West Palm, but he looks great, in all honesty. That being said, he hasn't made an appearance in the Grapefruit games yet. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they want to be very, very careful with him as well. But if he is healthy, then that outfield, I think, will be better than last year because you have Eaton moving to left, Michael A. Taylor, who had an incredible postseason with the 2 homers and 8 RBIs in center field, and he can defensively man left field and right field. And then you got Bryson Wright. So, I think the outfield could even be better than last year. But as you said, Eaton has to be 100% to make sure of that. So I think that's why they're being real careful in his return.
Yeah, the little glimpse we got of him last season in April before the injury, I mean, he was a stud. So I'm excited to see him come back. The game is actually underway on MASN right now, so we got to wrap up in a few minutes. But I want to get your thoughts on Victor Robles. You talked about him earlier, Byron, and the Nats have said time after time, wherever he plays, he must be available to play every single day. So that's probably not going to be in the big leagues this season until probably he gets called up if an injury happens. So most likely you would assume he's going to AAA.
Yes, he needs at-bats. He's still a very young player, and they brought him up because he's just an incredible 5-tool guy, incredible speed, has everything you want in a baseball player. He just does not have enough experience yet, and he's their number 1 overall prospect. He's been quoted as top 5 overall in Major League Baseball prospects. Every time someone wants to trade with the Nats, they ask about Victor Robles, and Mike Rizzo says, no, thank you, but no thank you. And so Rizzo has said from the beginning of spring training that he wants to make sure Robles gets to play every day, and you're right, that's what it will be at Syracuse, that he will play every single day and get 4 or 5 at-bats so that he can be ready for that moment if, as you said, something happens. And he could be that call-up later on as well and be that Energizer Bunny that they need for the postseason run. But he is an incredible talent as well, and they've done a nice job recently of fortifying their outfield depth with Juan Soto also coming up as well in the next few years. So you don't want to lose Bryce Harper, but the outfield looks pretty strong at most of the positions too.
Yeah, absolutely. Young guy, but really fast. Obviously a solid hitter. Career high 10 homers last year in the minors. He's going to be great. He's up and coming, of course. He needs his time. He needs those at-bats. Now,
I'd love to see him play, though. But
yes,
yeah.
Of course. You will. You will in the future.
He's awesome, yeah.
Our final topic we have to hit on right now is that Sports Illustrated, that article came out, and you did a great piece on it, Byron. The Nats have 7 players in the top 100. That's pretty astonishing. 1, that says a lot about their team. But 2, Bryce Harper wasn't that high on the list. So let's first start with that, Byron. A lot of players in that top 100.
Yeah, they had it written up as number 12 for Bryce Harper, which kind of was eye-popping to me. But
you'd think he'd break the top 10.
I think it was because of, they wrote about the injuries last year, and his potential keeps him in the top 20. But I say his potential puts him in the top 10. But that's my bias as well. And as we just said on the program, that he has so much that he can do. That I think we've just, it's the tip of the iceberg. We've just scratched the surface with him. He can do so much, and he's going to have one of those explosive years because, as you said, he knows it's a contract year. He knows it's very, very important for him to be a difference maker for this team and to excel. And he remembers that Game 5 striking out to end the game. He doesn't want that to be the legacy he has with the Nationals. So this is a gigantic year for him, and I think he's going to prove that he's worth every single penny.
Yeah. Also, we can't forget to mention the top 3 starters in the rotation were also 3 of the players in those 7. So that says a lot about the team,
Yeah, and that's
too.
where Gio was, I don't want to say I slept on him, but, people don't realize how good Gio is, and I think having Matt Wieters around has certainly helped him with how good he is. But, nice to have that right-hander in Scherzer, that left-hander in Gio, that right-hander in Strauss, and really confusing opposing batters and lineups. And, there it is, 15 wins, a sub-3 ERA, almost 200 strikeouts. He did a really good job last year with runners in scoring position. Teams were not scoring when they would get on base, and that was something that hurt him years before, is you'd have one bad inning where he'd allow 4 or 5 runs, and the whole start would be thrown away. He's not doing that anymore, so it's fun to see what Gio can do, and he's been through a lot personally as well, obviously losing his best friend in Miami, but his family is growing. He's become, being a dad now. So he's maturing in many ways in his life, and it's showing on the baseball field.
You're so right about that. Byron Kerr, thanks so much for coming
You're welcome.
up today.
Nice to see you again.
So good to see you. Byron Kerr, MASNsports.com, beat writer for the Washington Nationals. I'm Sarah Perlman. We're signing off right now, but tune into MASN because it's the top of the first right now. The Nationals playing Houston down in West Palm Beach. This was MASN All Access, and we'll catch you next time.